Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and in this video I'm going to be reading 3 of my most anticipated books of 2025. So you can probably guess at least one of these books. So I'm not gonna waste any time in telling you that in this video I am going to be reading The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is her companion novel to The Spell Shop. It's set in the same world, except this one is following the witch that made Kaz and what happens with her. I am so excited to read this book. The Spell Shop was my #1 book of 2024, and I have every inkling that this is going to be one of my top books of 2025. With her writing and the coziness of her books, the world building in her books, the characters, everything that she includes in these, I have a feeling. I know that this is going to be a 5-star book, and it very well might be my top book of the year. I'm so excited to read this, and I can't wait. The other two, you probably have heard me talk about a little bit, but we have A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I think that anybody who read Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches has this as one of their anticipated books, because a lot of people loved that book, and Sangu Mandana has finally given us another cozy fantasy book. I am so excited to read this. I don't even remember what it's about, but I have been watching for it ever since I read Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches a couple of years ago. And so now that I finally have it, she finally came out with this book, and so I will be reading it, and hopefully I give it 5 stars. And then last up, for a little bit of a change of pace, we have another book by an author that I read last year that I absolutely loved, her debut book. And this one came out a while ago now. I think it was in May. And I've been wanting to read it, and so now I'm finally gonna read it, and I hope it's 5 stars. But that is The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlich. This is the same author as The Measure. I absolutely loved that book. That was one of the better books that I read last year. It was definitely in my tops, and it was so interesting, and it was one of those books that it's kind of like, I always say that it's like Neil Shusterman's writing, that it's so different from what's actually going on in our world, but at the same time it's so parallel and it's so similar in ways that you could totally see it happening, and that's what makes it really interesting to think about. And that's what I loved about The Measure. This one I'm really hoping is going to be 5 stars. It's a tiny little book and it's super cute, and I really hope that I love this one anywhere near as much as I loved The Measure, and then I'm going to call that a win. So I'm reading these 3 books this week. I'm hoping that all 3 of them will be 5 stars, but stay tuned, we will see. And I know that you expect me to start with this one, but I actually read the first chapter in this one like an hour ago, and it had me cackling already. And so I'm going to start with this one, and I will check back in with you when I have my first impressions other than the first chapter. The first chapter was really good. But it's still very early, so I will check back in with you when I have more thoughts on this one when I get a little bit further. So, wish me luck. Hello. So we are back to truck updates. Sitting at the bus stop. So, yesterday I started A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I made it up to 94 pages in it between last night and this morning, so I'm on chapter 9 now, and I'm having a great time. So we have a talking fox, we have a zombie chicken, we have a guy who walks around all day every day in knight's armor. Very quirky, fun side characters in this, and I'm enjoying the heck out of that. So in this book we are following Sarah Swan, and she was a really powerful witch when she was a girl, and then she had to do a really strong spell in order to keep her great aunt in her life, and it caused her magic to dwindle to the point where it is almost non-existent at this point. Now we are 15 years later, and she still is having issues with her magic, and she is now like 30 years old, or almost 30, and she has found out that the only way that she is able to actually get her magic back is with a spell that is in a book that she cannot access because the Guild of Witches has exiled her because of the spell that she did in order to keep her grandmother with her. Or not her grandmother, her aunt. I apologize. We also have Luke Larson, and he is an assistant at the guild to one of the professors, and he has an autistic sister who is 9 years old, and so she doesn't understand the concept of having to keep her magic a secret. And the professor that he is an apprentice to tells him, you know what, you look exhausted, you need to take a vacation, and sends him on this wild goose chase to this summer home that she doesn't actually own, but it ends up leading him and his sister to Sarah's inn that she runs with her aunt. And so now him and his sister are going to be staying at this inn, and they're trying to figure out, or Sarah just was able to get her hands on pictures of this text because her nephew stole the book that it was in and then got caught. But she was able to take pictures of it before they had to return it. And so now she is able to look at this spell to try and get her magic back, but she actually can't read it. It's in a dead language that nobody really knows anymore. There's only a handful of witches who actually know this language. And so she's trying to figure out how she could translate the spell, try to get her magic back, because she feels like she's missing a part of her. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I said, I'm not quite 100 pages into this, but I am really, really enjoying it. It definitely has the quirky characters that makes me very much think of House in the Cerulean Sea, except not quite as magical. So I'm loving this so far. It definitely has the cozy vibes, and I'm having a great time. There's been times that I've just been smiling and kind of cracking up, and so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really, really glad to finally be reading this book. So I'm going to continue reading this one this evening, and I'll probably check back in with you tomorrow. I will most likely finish it tomorrow. But we'll see how far I get today and see how things go. And it's definitely off to a great start, but I will talk to you guys later on. I have some updates for you. I have been reading A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sango Mandana all day. I'm not done with it yet, but I am pretty close. I am on chapter 28, page 262, so I have about 60 or so pages left in this, and I'm absolutely loving it. So this one is giving me the same kind of vibes as like House in the Cerulean Sea, with the super quirky characters who have just created this family. So we have Jasmine, who is the great aunt to our main character, Sarah. And yes, it is Sarah. It establishes that extra clearly later on in the book. And so we have Jasmine and Sarah, who are great aunt and our main character. We have Ruru, who is the zombified undead chicken. We have Clemmy, who is a witch who has been turned into a fox because of a curse. We have Nicholas, I apologize, Nicholas, who is our knight in shining armor, literally. And we have Matilda, who is an elderly black woman who loves her garden and is very quirky and unapologetic and just an absolute riot. And then we also have Theo, who is the nephew of Sarah. And then we have our male main character, Luke Larson, and his sister, his little sister, Posey. This group is amazing. This group is just absolutely fantastic. They are all a riot. Nicholas is a little bit of a twit in the most lovable way possible. He's not always the brightest shining bulb in the box, but you love him. And he is so, he's so protective and loyal as a character. He's just very, very sweet and kind-hearted. And Theo is just a kid that he was dealt kind of a crummy hand. His parents didn't really know what to do with him when his magic showed up, and Sarah's taken him in, and he is so incredibly grateful for that, and he loves being in this inn with Jasmine and with Sarah and all the other people in the family. Clemmy, she wants to be very detached, but she's found that over the years she loves this family, and she doesn't want to not be a part of the family. And it's all very, very sweet, and things are happening that they are trying to find the ingredients for this spell to try and help Sarah get her magic back, and it's just not working out the way that she's expecting it to. It's not as simple as what she hoped it would be to come up with these ingredients that are quite odd to begin with. So overall, right now I am loving this book so much. I'm flying through it. I'm binge reading it. I am laughing out loud, and I'm having a great time. I'm loving this so much. This has the cozy found family vibes that I absolutely love. And her writing, it's so easy to picture it. You know, you don't get an excessive amount of description of the characters or anything like that, but this house has a mind of its own, which I always love that in a book as well. I think it's really fun that the house or the inn is kind of a character all its own. And at one point it puts a ghost of a puddle on the floor to let Sarah know that there will soon be a leak in the roof and that she needs to fix it. And there's teapots that sprout flowers randomly and things like that. So there's a lot of little parts in this that I think are really fantastic, and I'm having such a good time with this. So it is very likely, at the rate that I'm going, that I will finish this book tonight. It is definitely looking like a high 4 or 5-star read. It's definitely going well, but I think that I'm probably gonna end up finishing this one late tonight. So I wanted to come on and give you guys an update to tell you how I'm feeling about this and kind of what my thoughts are with this before I finish with it, and actually have a little bit more coherent thought of what's happening and the characters than I seemed like I did yesterday. I'd read quite a bit of this yesterday when I gave you that update at the bus stop, but it's hard for me sometimes to put that into words, and especially since I hadn't picked up the book since that morning. It doesn't always come across like I actually know what I'm talking about, which I'm not always the greatest at explaining stuff anyways, but overall, I am loving this book. I'm having a really great time. I love the characters in this. They are so sweet and so quirky and so fun, and they're so lovable, and I'm loving it. So I wanted to come on and let you guys know that. I will probably finish this tonight, and that means we will be starting another book tomorrow, which will probably be The Enchanted Greenhouse, because I want to continue with this fun, cozy vibe. So I think this is a great way to start my kind of summer moving into fall reading, and I'm so glad that this is finally out and that I'm able to read it. So I will check back in with you guys tomorrow, probably, once I have my final thoughts for this kind of aligned and have probably started something else. So yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. See you later. Hello and happy Thursday. So I haven't updated you all day. I have been doing some TBR stuff and some planning and reading and things like that, so I haven't really updated you at all. But like I said last night, I did end up finishing A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. This book was so fun. I loved this so much. The entire found family, the characters, it was totally like House in the Cerulean Sea, just cracking up at the characters and their quirks, and it was such a great time. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 stars, just like I thought I would. And I absolutely loved it, and I would highly recommend it if you like House in the Cerulean Sea, or obviously The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, also by Sangu Mandana. I would definitely recommend reading this one. It was just so good. It was so fun. She does found family so well, and the quirkiness of the characters and everything, like, it's just great. So I highly recommend this one, and I give it 5 stars. I also picked up The Enchanted Greenhouse this morning, and I've been reading this all day long. Well, in amongst doing everything else. So I am on chapter 14, which is 134 pages into this now, and I'm really enjoying it. So this is following Turlu? Yeah, this is following Turlu. She is the one who created Kaz from the sentient spider plant in the spell shop. She is the one who created him, and she was turned into a statue. Now, X amount of years later, we find out that it's actually 6 years later. After she was turned into a statue, she finds herself reanimated as a human being, and is on this island that she has no idea where she is. There, is that a little bit better? Not quite so fuzzy. So 6 years later, she finds out she's on this island that she has no idea where she is. It's freezing cold, it's snowing, and all she could see off in the distance is a light. So she goes towards that light and she finds a greenhouse. Now this greenhouse turns out to be an enchanted greenhouse. It is gigantic, and it is full of all kinds of different little ecosystems and all kinds of different little plants. And she comes across this man, and this man is the gardener, and his name is Yarrow. And he has been here his entire life, and there is a sorcerer who used to live here that after he died, things kind of started getting run down. Some of the ecosystems started shutting down, and plants started dying and things like that, and he's been trying to maintain as much as he can because he knows that this greenhouse is special. So he is super excited when Turlu shows up because he thinks that she is a sorcerer and can help save the greenhouse, but she can't, and so she thinks that she's a huge disappointment to him. Well, now we have come across the character named Lottie. Now, Lottie is a special kind of rose, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but she is a rose who happens to be sentient as well. She's able to talk and communicate, and she asks for their help, Yarrow and Turlu. She asks for their help in reanimating her friends. There's other plants at this greenhouse that should be animated, but are not for some reason. They've been put into basically an enchanted sleep. So now it's a quest to find out if Turlu can solve the mystery of bringing these plants back to life after she got turned into a statue because of what she had done in the past. And there's Yarrow, who is like this, he's so antisocial and just awkward because he's never really been around anybody else, and like his dad left 2 years ago and his family has slowly moved away ever since he was a kid, so he's been on his own for quite a while, and he doesn't really know how to interact with other people, but he's really sweet. He's a fantastic cook, and he's turning into a really great character. And Lottie is just a riot. I mean, as you would expect, she's a riot. So I'm having a great time with this, and I can't decide. I think I might like the spell shop a little bit better just for the vibes of it, but there's a lot of really fun magical creatures in this. There are little miniature dragons, there are diamond dragonflies, and things like that that are really fun, and so I'm having a really great time with this, and we'll see once I get further into this if this is going to be on par with the spell shop, which I think it will be, or if it'll surpass it, or if spell shop will end up being better. I don't know, but I have really high hopes for this, and like I said, I still have quite a ways left to go. I'm only about a third of the way through it. So I still have quite a bit left to go for it to be able to match or even exceed my expectations compared to the spell shop. So I'm having a great time. I'm going to continue reading this tonight, see how far I can get. I'm nearly at 200 pages for the day. I think I'm like 70 pages short, I guess, because I'm on 134. But yeah, so I'm having a great time with this and I'm really enjoying it. So stay tuned. I will hopefully finish this one either tomorrow or Saturday, depending on how things go. But I'm having a great time. I'm loving this and it's just such an easy read and it's so enjoyable. So I'm really, really happy to finally be reading this book. Good morning. It is now Monday and I've been doing some reading. So I didn't read a lot this weekend, or at least not like Friday, Saturday. I had so many things going on Friday with doctor's appointments, getting my kids' medicine at school situated, and getting my oil changed, and like a whole bunch of different errands that I was working on. So I didn't read like hardly at all. I think I read one chapter on Friday, and then on Saturday I think I just read like 2 or 3 chapters. But on Sunday we just hung out at the house and I did a bunch of reading. My husband did a bunch of reading. So my husband just finished A Tide of Black Steel by Anthony Ryan, and book 2 to that one comes out a week from tomorrow on the 26th. So I will be picking up that one for him because he said he really enjoyed it and he wanted to continue in the series, and then he had to pick another book to read in the meantime. So he's like freaking out because he has like 3 different series going right now that are all fantasy series that he wants to continue in, but we don't have book 2 yet for 2 of them. So that's interesting for him. I showed him my list of series and I was like, this is what I have going. But anyways, I ended up finishing The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. And of course, big surprise, it was 5 stars. I loved this book. This book was different from the spell shop, but there were little cameos to the spell shop. It talks about Kaz and how Turlu wishes that she knew what happened to Kaz and that she hoped he was okay and things like that. And what I love with these books, with this writing style, is that it's lower stakes, but the tension, the higher stakes parts that you get concerned, you get put on edge about things happening. It's not at the very end of the book. It's right in the middle. There's things that happen that it's a big deal and it's important to these characters and you really care and you worry for them. And it's right in the middle of the book. Right when you're really caring about these characters. It's not at the very end. And I really like that. I think that there's multiple different struggles that they face within these books that maybe aren't super high stakes, because they're not, but for what they are, they're fitting for the story. But it's enough that there's tension and that you worry about these characters and how things are going to work out and what's going to happen. You worry for them because you care about them. I love how this wrapped up. I think it wrapped up beautifully. There was a little possibility at the end that, it makes me really, really hope that she does a book 3 in this world. I really hope so. Oh my God, seeing all these characters come together, I just am imagining it. And please, Sarah Beth Durst, do it. Do a book 3, combine all of these worlds or combine these characters and do a book 3, because I would eat that shit up in a heartbeat. So there's a quote in this book that I did want to share with you. It's about having a relationship with other people, and I just really loved it, and it really spoke to me. So it says, you could only have a relationship of any kind, be it family or friends or lovers, if both people were willing to reach toward each other. It wasn't, as some said, hard work in the sense of being unpleasant or tedious or painful. That was a myth perpetrated by people with a vested interest in telling you to stay in a terrible relationship. But it did require effort. You had to try. And I love that, because I feel like that's such a common knowledge thing that just gets overlooked with relationships. And this is, relationships of any kind. It's not just in somebody that you are dating or married to. It's with friends or family or anything else. You have to both be trying. You have to try to get in touch. You have to try to communicate. You have to try to hang out, things like that. And that's what is such a commonplace thing, but at the same time, I feel like that's overlooked a lot. And I feel like with, once you finish high school or finish college or whatever, and you get married and you start to have a family, friends kind of distance themselves because you're in different places or whatever. You lose touch with people. If you don't actively try to keep in touch with your family, with your siblings, whatever, you could lose that relationship. And I know that there's times where like my sister and I go for a while without talking to each other, and it drives me crazy because it's like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you in forever. We both get busy with different things, but you have to take the time to just send that message like, hey, what's up? How's everything going? To keep that communication. And you have to both be willing to try. And I think that's such a key thing that so many people kind of overlook or forget about. And so I absolutely love that quote, because it isn't just with being married or anything like that. It's being married also that you need to think about that, but it's with all of your relationships. And I just really love that quote. And I think that Sarah Beth Durst has such an amazing way of adding in little tidbits like that I absolutely love, that it just makes me love the writing so much more and love the story so much more. And so yeah, I absolutely love this. I thought it was fantastic, and it did not disappoint by any means. So I'm so glad that I read this. I gave it 5 stars, which I knew I was going to. We all knew I was going to. So now the question is, because this one and the Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping were definitely some of my top books of the year, and I think that those are gonna stay that way throughout the rest of the year, because those are some of my favorite books that I've read. I've had such a great time with them. And so I think that this one and A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping might be in my top 10 for 2025. I think that's pretty easy to say right now. I've read like 60 books so far. And so out of those 60, for those ones to be as great as they have been, I think that's pretty safe to say. But I did finish this yesterday. Moving on, I ended up starting The Poppy Fields, the last book for this video, by Nikki Erlich. She also wrote The Measure, which I gave 5 stars, and I absolutely love that book. I still think about that book regularly, and I am currently almost halfway. I am on chapter 28, so 133 pages in. And this book is following quite the cast of characters. So we have Ava, who is kind of a homebody, and she is trying to go to the poppy fields because she wants to rekindle a relationship with her sister, Emmy, who she hasn't spoken to in years. And she's kind of a homebody. She's an artist and very just introverted. We also have Sasha. Sasha is also on her way to the poppy fields because she is going through a lot. Her marriage fell through. She was supposed to get married, and then for some reason that we don't know right away, that doesn't happen, and she is having all kinds of trouble with that. And so she wants to go to the poppy fields to sleep and try and feel better. The poppy fields, I should say, is where patients can go and basically be put into almost a coma-like sleep for, I think it said 4 to 8 weeks is usually how long it lasts. And by the time that you wake up from this sleep is supposed to help with kind of making your grief a little bit easier to handle. So if you lose a loved one, you could potentially go sleep in the poppy fields for a month. And then when you wake up, it'll kind of help have that pain and that grief not be as sharp or as difficult to handle as it was previously. But 25% of the people that go in and sleep in the poppy fields have, I don't even remember what the name of it is. It's basically an affliction that when you wake up, instead of just feeling better, you feel numb. You feel like you don't have the same feelings as you did before. You're just kind of numb to the person that you're grieving or what happened. And so that is a case for 25% of the people that go into the poppy fields. But they're upfront about it. They tell you that that is a possibility before you go in, and so you can make that decision on your own. This treatment is also free for anyone, but it is a pretty rigorous application process that they only pick certain people, and it's a patient-by-patient case. So, that being said, we're following Ava and Sasha. We're also following Ray. Now, Ray is a firefighter who is grieving the loss of his brother. We don't know exactly what happened to start with. At the point I'm at now, we're learning some of these things, but I don't want to say that because I feel like that really helps with the emotional impact of the story, is to not know going in. but we're following Ray, and Ray is a firefighter, and I connect with his character so much. My dad worked for a volunteer fire department the entire time I was growing up, and he doesn't really talk about it a lot, but my sister and I, like, we know that he was traumatized by some of the things that he experienced as a firefighter, whether that be medical cases or fires or whatever the situation was. We know that he was affected by that a lot more than he would admit to, and that he has trauma because of that and things that happened. And so with this book, I really connect with Ray and the hardships that he has gone through, the things that he has seen as a firefighter. And I connect with his character a lot because of that, I think. And I'm really emotionally impacted by his character. I've almost cried a couple of times with this book already, just reading it this morning. I made it like 50 pages in last night, and then today I've been reading it, and I've almost teared up a couple of times just reading about some of the things that these characters have experienced. And this book is so just right there to be super emotional. And so yeah, we're also following Sky, and Sky, I believe, is 18. She has decided that she wants to experience the world. You know, she's young and she doesn't want to be settled down yet. She wants to go and experience things. She wants to go and travel and see places and do things before she feels the need to be broke and settled down. So we're following her character. She's kind of traveling around. And then we're also following Ellis. Now, Ellis is the one who created the poppy fields. She is the runner of the poppy fields. And she is having a hard time because of one particular case where a young man who had gone to sleep woke up, went home, and 3 days later he had an aneurysm in his brain erupt and died 3 days after leaving the poppy fields. Now, she feels like it was her fault, even though everything shows that it was not their fault, that they're not actually responsible for his death. But it still weighs heavily on her. And it's her looking at that and also considering like expanding and what they're looking at overall for the goal for the poppy fields and stuff like that. So like I said, I am about 130 pages into this book. I'm really enjoying this. Nikki Erlich has this really incredible way of writing something that is not super crazy. It's like a dystopian thing that, and I did this with The Measure. I compared it to Neil Shusterman, his writing. She has this way with her books of writing something that is really, it feels like it could be a real place. It could be a real thing, and could be realistically something that happens. It's not. It is fictional. The poppy fields are not a thing, but it feels like it could be. And it feels like it could be in a not so distant future or something along these lines. And she looks at that, and she looks at the grief. And she really, even though she's like jumping between these different characters, she really makes you feel and just empathize with these characters and what they're going through and the hard things that they're dealing with. And she does it in a really beautiful way. It's very simple. It's very easy to follow, but it's very interesting. And I think that's what I love about her writing so much, is that it's just a little bit out there, but it's not crazy out there. And it's just so relatable. It is so relatable, and you can see connections just like I have. I can see connections with Ray and my dad's experiences as a firefighter and guys that worked at the fire department when I was growing up and I hung out there as a kid. When that was like a family setting, it was like a second family setting for us as kids growing up over at the fire department, especially for me because I was there when I was little. I was like kindergarten age, you know. And so I had that friendship with some of the guys that my dad worked with at the fire department. And, you know, it really was like that. And so like I have a connection with that, whereas some people might have other connections with other characters in this book that it's talking about. And so I think that's what's really accessible for so many people with her writing. And the same way with The Measure, all the different characters, they were so relatable in so many ways. And at the same time, like, you couldn't help but just feel for those characters and empathize with them. So like I said, I'm almost halfway through this. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a really good reading from me. I have a feeling that it's going to be very emotional as things continue on. Like I said, I've already almost, like, I started to tear up a couple of times in this last section that I read. And so I have a feeling it's going to be super emotional, and I'm excited to see where it goes and what's going to happen with these characters. So I'm going to continue reading this now that I've been sitting here talking on and on for 15 minutes. And I'm going to continue reading this. I'm hoping to finish this today so that way I can get this video edited and up for the end of the week. But I'm having a great time. I'm so happy with how this video is going. So far in August, I have read 6 books, finished 6 books in August. 4 of those 6 books have been 5 stars. So I think that is a fantastic way to have this month going. And I'm so excited about it. I'm having such a great time this month with all the books that I'm reading. And it's been great. So I'm going to go continue reading. And I guess I will talk to you guys in a little while. Good morning, guys. So I didn't have a chance to update you at all yesterday. It is now Wednesday, but I did finish The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlich. So I finished this yesterday morning. I was hoping to finish it Monday night, and then it was like a little after 10 o'clock. I was exhausted, and so I just ended up setting this down, going to bed, and I finished it yesterday morning before 6 o'clock. So this book is a road trip story. I know I don't think that I said that before, but this is a road trip story. So we have Ava, Ray, and Sasha, who are going on this road trip together. Sky is an 18-year-old girl who just wants to see the world. She experienced something at college before the end of school, or I think it was college, maybe it was it would have been high school. She had an experience at a party in the end of high school that really changed her outlook on life. And I'm not going to go into that too much because that's kind of spoilery. But she did have an experience at a party at the end of high school that kind of changed her outlook on life. And she wants to go and experience things and experience the world before she settles down, gets married, has a job. And she wants to just enjoy it, being young and able and just, having this life and not being attached to anyone or anything like that. So Sky is going out to travel the world, and she meets up with Sasha and Ray and Ava, who are on their way to the poppy fields in California. And so she kind of goes along for the ride for a little while. And so it's this group together, and then we're also following Ellis, who is the runner of the poppy fields. She's the one who created the poppy fields. And she has things that she is having to overcome with trials that they've had, issues that they've had with things going on at the poppy fields and stuff like that. So this is a road trip story overall. I did read at the end of this book that the author actually got the inspiration for this book from The Wizard of Oz and like their journey in The Wizard of Oz to go and see Oz. And so that's definitely very fitting with this book. You can definitely see it, like, once you can look back and like understand that. But did I give this book 5 stars is the big question. And I did not. This book I gave 4 stars. It was still good. I like her writing style. I like the way that she kind of interconnects all these people and the journey that they make. I loved her look into grief and trauma and things like that. I think that this book kind of gives me a different perspective of the fact that my dad worked for a volunteer fire department for a long time when I was growing up, and a lot of the guys that he worked with were like family to me back then. They were like uncles and stuff almost, because I just spent so much time hanging out with my dad at the fire department when I was little. And it definitely gave me a new outlook on some of the things that they had seen and that they had gone through by working there. something that you don't really think about when you're, 6 years old and in kindergarten and first grade and stuff. And it's not something that you think about then, but it definitely has given me a different outlook on that. And I really appreciate that. I really identified with that. And just, I really enjoyed these characters. I loved Ray's story, especially because of the fact that he was a firefighter. But this book was just a bit on the slow side. And while I enjoyed it and there wasn't anything like inherently wrong with it, it just didn't give me that 5-star feel. And I just, like I said, I felt like it was a little bit slow at times. And so I still really enjoy it. I still recommend it. And I still think it was a really good story. It wasn't my favorite. So I did give this 4 stars, which is still a win. I still enjoyed it quite a bit. And it just, like I said, it just didn't give me those 5-star feels. But it was still a fantastic book, and I'm so glad that I read it. So that wraps up this video for this week. So I read The Poppy Fields, which was 4 stars by Nikki Ehrlich, and really enjoyed it. And then I also read The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. Sorry, I'm fighting with the light this morning. I read The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I gave this 5 stars, my most anticipated book of the year, and it did not disappoint. I loved this. I loved all the little cameos throughout the book to Kaz, and it's definitely very separate. If you have not read The Spell Shop, you could absolutely read this. They are not connected, but if you have read The Spell Shop, there's little things that you recognize that kind of add to that enjoyment. So I gave this 5 stars and I loved it. But I think the book that is taking my top spot for favorite book of the year so far is going to be The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I had such a great time with this book. It was so much fun. I was chuckling and kicking my feet, and I had so much fun with this. And it very much reminded me of how I felt when I read House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And even a Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches that Sangu Mandana also wrote before this. I loved those books. I thought the found family aspect is in the forefront. There is a relationship in this, but it's more in the background compared to the found family. And I really like that because the found family is what I love about these cozy fantasy books. I love the quirkiness of our characters. I love when the house has a little bit of a personality as well, which this book does. And I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 stars. It was such a great way to start out this video. And I've had such a great time this week. So even though I'm finishing this out just a little bit later than what I normally would, or at least what I have been in August, I'd say that this has been a pretty solid reading week for me. And I found some new favorites, and I found some that are definitely going to be finding their place on my shelves. So these are the 3 books that I read this week. Have you read these yet? Are you going to be reading these anytime soon? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me for a little while, and I will see you on Tuesday with another video. Bye.